There's something about a lonely road at night that stirs the imagination. Maybe it's the way the headlights carve tunnels through the darkness, or the way the world seems to shrink to just you, your car, and the endless stretch of asphalt ahead. But for some roads, the fear isn't just in your head. All over the world, there are highways and back roads with reputations so chilling, even the bravest drivers hesitate to travel them after dark. Tonight, I'm taking you on a journey down the 5 most haunted roads in the world, places where the line between the living and the dead is dangerously thin, and where every mile is a test of your courage. Buckle up, because if you dare to drive these roads, you might not be alone. Our journey begins in the heart of England, on a stretch of highway known as the A75 Kinmount Strait. Locals call it Scotland's Ghost Road, and for good reason. For decades, drivers have reported seeing shadowy figures darting across the road, only to vanish when the car gets close. Some have swerved to avoid a woman in a tattered dress, only to find the road empty. Others have seen a pair of old-fashioned horse-drawn carriages, their wheels spinning silently in the mist. The most famous encounter happened to a truck driver named Derek, who was making a late-night delivery. As he rounded a bend, he saw a couple walking hand in hand in the middle of the road. He slammed on the brakes, heart pounding, but the couple didn't move. Instead, they turned to face him, their eyes hollow and black. Derek blinked, and they were gone. He finished his route, but he never drove that stretch of road at night again. From the misty moors of Scotland, we traveled to the sun-baked highways of the United States, to a place known as Clinton Road in New Jersey. This 10-mile stretch of winding asphalt has been called the most haunted road in America, and the stories that surround it are enough to make even the most skeptical driver think twice. Locals warn of the Ghost Boy Bridge, where legend says a young boy drowned decades ago. If you toss a coin into the water, it's said the boy will return it to you. Some drivers have reported seeing a pale, wet child standing by the side of the road, his eyes pleading for help. Others have encountered phantom vehicles, trucks that appear out of nowhere, tailgating drivers before vanishing into thin air. There are tales of strange creatures lurking in the woods, of witches' gatherings, and of a mysterious abandoned castle deep in the forest. But the most chilling story comes from a group of friends who decided to test the legend for themselves. They parked on the bridge at midnight, tossed a coin into the water, and waited. Minutes later, they heard footsteps behind them. When they turned, there was no one there, but the coin was sitting on the hood of their car, wet and cold. Next, we head to Japan, to a road that's as beautiful as it is terrifying. The old Chisetsu Tunnel, located in the mountains of Fukuoka Prefecture, is a place where the past refuses to rest. The tunnel was built in the early 20th century, and its crumbling walls are said to be haunted by the spirits of those who died during its construction. Drivers report seeing a woman in white standing at the entrance, her long hair covering her face. Some say she's the ghost of a bride who was murdered on her wedding day, doomed to wander the tunnel for eternity. Others have seen handprints appear on their windows or heard the sound of footsteps echoing through the darkness. One driver, a skeptic who didn't believe in ghosts, decided to film his journey through the tunnel. Halfway through, his camera malfunctioned, and the car's engine sputtered and died. As he sat in the darkness, he heard a soft voice whisper his name. The car started on its own, and he sped out of the tunnel, never looking back. When he reviewed the footage later, he saw a pale face reflected in the rearview mirror, a face that wasn't his. From Japan, we traveled to Australia, to a road that's infamous among truckers and travelers alike. Wakehurst Parkway, just north of Sydney, is a winding stretch of road that cuts through dense bushland and is notorious for its ghostly hitchhikers. The most famous is Kelly, a woman in a white dress who appears on the side of the road, asking for a ride. Drivers who stop to help her say she gets into the back seat, only to vanish before they reach their destination. Others have reported seeing a pair of glowing eyes in the rearview mirror or feeling an icy hand on their shoulder as they drive. One taxi driver, who picked up a woman matching Kelly's description, said she spoke in a voice that wasn't human, deep, guttural, and filled with rage. When he looked in the mirror, her eyes were as black as coal. He slammed on the brakes, and she disappeared, leaving only the scent of roses behind. Locals say the only way to avoid Kelly's curse is to never drive the parkway alone after midnight. Our final stop is in the heart of India, on a road that's as dangerous as it is haunted. The Delhi Cantonment Road is a stretch of highway that winds through a forested area on the outskirts of the city. For years, drivers have reported seeing a woman in a white sari standing by the side of the road, her hair covering her face. She asks for a ride, and if you refuse, she chases your car, keeping pace no matter how fast you drive. Some say she's the ghost of a woman who was murdered on the road, seeking revenge on those who pass her by. Others believe she's a warning, a sign that something terrible is about to happen. One night, a group of friends were driving home when they saw the woman standing in the middle of the road. They swerved to avoid her, but she appeared again, this time right in front of the car. The driver slammed on the brakes, and the woman vanished. These 5 roads are more than just stretches of asphalt. They're gateways to the unknown, places where the past and present collide, and where every mile is a test of your courage. If you ever find yourself driving down one of these haunted highways, remember, you might not be alone. For those who have dared to drive these haunted roads, the stories don't end when the engine shuts off. The fear lingers, a shadow that follows them home, a chill that creeps in every time they see headlights in the dark or hear the wind whispering through the trees. These roads are more than just legends. They're living nightmares, stitched together from the experiences of countless travelers who all share the same uneasy feeling, that something is out there, watching, waiting, and sometimes reaching out from the darkness. The A75 Kinmount Strait in Scotland has become a rite of passage for local drivers and ghost hunters alike. Some return with nothing but stories of fog and empty roads, but others come back changed. One woman, driving alone late at night, saw a man step into the road just ahead of her car. She slammed on the brakes, heart pounding, but when she got out to check, there was no one there. Later, she found a handprint on her windshield, cold, clammy, and far too large to be human. She never drove that road again, and she still wakes up some nights, convinced she hears footsteps outside her window. Clinton Road in New Jersey is a magnet for thrill seekers, but even the bravest admit that something about the place feels wrong. One group of friends, determined to debunk the legends, spent a night parked on the Ghost Boy Bridge. They laughed, tossed coins, and waited for something to happen. Hours passed, and nothing did, until they started the car to leave. The engine sputtered and died, and the temperature inside the car dropped suddenly. The windows fogged up, and words began to appear, written from the outside. Go home. When the engine finally started, they sped away, never looking back. The next morning, they found their coins lined up neatly on the hood, as if someone or something had returned them. The old Chisetsu Tunnel in Japan is a place where even the bravest locals refuse to linger. One night, a group of students decided to walk through the tunnel as a dare. Halfway through, their flashlights flickered and died, plunging them into darkness. They heard footsteps behind them, slow and deliberate, echoing off the damp walls. When they turned, they saw a woman in white, her face hidden by her hair, gliding silently toward them. The students ran, stumbling over each other in their panic. When they reached the end of the tunnel, They looked back only to see the woman standing at the entrance, watching them with empty, black eyes. The students never spoke of what happened again, but one of them moved away from the area, unable to sleep without nightmares. Wakehurst Parkway in Australia is a road that locals warn you to avoid after dark. Taxi drivers share stories of picking up passengers who vanish before reaching their destination, and police officers have responded to countless calls about strange sightings and unexplained accidents. One night, a young woman was driving home when she saw a figure standing in the middle of the road. She swerved to avoid it, crashing into a ditch. When she looked up, she saw the woman in white standing by her window, her face twisted in a silent scream. The woman disappeared as quickly as she had appeared, but the driver was left with a deep sense of dread that never quite faded. She later learned that several fatal accidents had occurred at that exact spot, all involving drivers who claimed to have seen the same ghostly figure. Delhi Cantonment Road in India is a place where the supernatural feels almost routine. Locals share stories of the woman in the white sari, and some even claim to have spoken to her. One man, a taxi driver, picked up a woman late at night who matched the ghost's description. She asked to be taken to a nearby temple, but when they arrived, she was gone, leaving only a faint scent of jasmine in the air. The driver found a single white flower on the back seat, and when he tried to return it to the temple, the priest told him it was an offering from the spirit world. The driver never worked that route again, convinced he had ferried a ghost. What makes these roads so terrifying isn't just the stories. It's the way they make you question reality. The line between what's real and what's imagined blurs in the darkness, and every shadow becomes a potential threat. For those who have experienced the hauntings firsthand, the fear is all too real. They talk about the way the air changes, the way time seems to slow down, and the way the world feels different on these cursed stretches of asphalt. But there's another side to these stories, too. A sense of wonder, of awe, of respect for the mysteries that still exist in our world. These roads are reminders that not everything can be explained, that some places are touched by forces we can't understand. They're warnings to be careful, to trust your instincts, and to remember that sometimes the scariest journeys are the ones you never planned to take. If you're listening to these stories and thinking, I could handle a drive down one of these roads, remember that every person who left with a story thought the same thing. The most important lesson is to respect the unknown, to listen to your gut, and to know when to turn back. Because on these roads, the past is never far behind, and sometimes the things you see in your rearview mirror are more than just tricks of the light. Thank you for joining me on this journey down the 5 most haunted roads in the world. If you have a story of your own, a night spent on a haunted highway, or a ghostly encounter you can't explain, share it in the comments. You never know who might need to hear it, who might find comfort in knowing they're not alone. Stay safe, trust your instincts, and remember, sometimes the scariest stories are the ones that could happen to any of us.